My name is Sally, and welcome to this podcast episode where we are going to talk about connection and connecting your why with your health and fitness. I'm going to introduce this podcast with sharing a little bit about why this connection is so important. As an online coach and someone who's been in the fitness industry for a number of years now, I'm always asked by my customers, why can't I get to my goal? Or why is it that I can't align my habits with my goals and my actions? Why do I feel like I can't bring these steps together? And I think coming back to the connection of why you want to achieve the goal to start out with is such an important place to start. Because very often, once you feel clear on the why, which can truly be the most powerful tool in your toolkit, things can come together quite quickly and quite easily. But the biggest purpose of today's chat is to highlight that part of connection and connecting my story as to why I got into health and fitness. And then we're going to lead into talking about how you can get clear on your why with your goals. And I feel like this conversation is going to connect us deeper than any Get Ready With Me or any What I Eat in a Day reel that you might see on my Instagram. And if you're not already following me, it's SallyWarren_1. So I'm going to start at the very beginning. But before we get into it, I do need to note that if you find that you get triggered or a little bit, if you find it difficult to listen to people talking about grief or about eating disorders, this might not be the episode for you. I'm not going to talk about these things in too much detail, but these are part of my story. And it's very important that when sharing that and connecting those dots, I just chat about that a little bit. So the reason why I got into health and fitness, well, when I was younger, and just for tracking's sake, I'm 34 years old as of today, I actually really hated sport when I was a kid. I would do anything to get out of fitness when I was a child. If it was a netball game, I was trying to find a way to skip class or get out of it. I did not enjoy activity. I actually more enjoyed English and arts. My sister, on the other hand, her name is Sarah, and she was 4 years younger than me. And Sarah loved sport. She was the type of kid that was always active and always on the go. And Sarah got into running when she was quite young. So when she was around 6 to 8 years old, she started taking part in the local athletics. She did really well and she was very competitive, and I used to go and watch her run, but I remember thinking to myself, why are these people running? This is so silly. What is happening? Why are we doing this? And just not feeling like I connected with that. But when I was younger as well, my little sister actually got a brain tumor and she did get sick and pass away, which is very sad and something that I don't often talk about. The main time I'm able to talk about my sister is when a client of mine might be going through some grief, and I'm able to share with them that I actually really resonate with what they're facing, and then I'm able to support them through sticking to their goals while navigating that difficult experience. But losing Sarah was a very difficult thing for me to go through, for our family to go through. But it was during that time of grief that a family friend encouraged me to come along to that same local athletics group that Sarah was involved with. It was in Ballarat, Victoria. And for anyone who knows Ballarat, you may be familiar that Ballarat has a pretty strong and rich running culture. Steve Moneghetti, the Olympic athlete who did really well in the marathon, is from Ballarat, and there's a very strong culture of running across the community. There's also the Ballarat Marathon, which has started in recent years. That's become really popular. But once Sarah passed, I did eventually agree to go to that Friday night athletics. I didn't want to go at first, and I continued to say, I don't want to go, I don't want to go. But these friends were dear family friends, and eventually they got me along. And pretty much since that night, I have not looked back. So losing my sister was the first connection with me with health and fitness. Losing my sister was a very difficult thing, but by starting to work on my running, I actually was able to navigate that grief and the trauma that I went through as a 12-year-old girl. And so once I started running, I started training for running. And one thing I've learned about myself is that I am someone who likes to give something a try and keep trying and eventually find my version of success. And thankfully, this works really well in coaching because a lot of my customers start with a very big fear of failure. And that might be something that you can connect with and resonate with as well. It's really common. Myself, I'm definitely a type A personality. And what comes with that is the continuous drive to succeed. There's not much that I can do without wanting to be the best at it. And failure is part of that success. And so it's very important for me to be able to coach my customers through that experience of not being afraid of failure and actually, if anything, looking for opportunities to fail, because we can only succeed if we're willing to go through trying something not working out and then trying again. But back to that experience I went through. Running journey began at 12, and it's continued to this day, where I've ran marathons, half marathons, have taken part in many running events over my lifetime. And the reason why I got into that was because that athletics connected me with others in a time where I felt I couldn't connect with anything or anyone, navigating grief. So a big part of my why as to why I got into that health and fitness was connection, to connect with myself in a time of despair, to connect with others in a time where I didn't understand. Going through grief, you always just kind of you don't really understand it as a child either. But it also helped me to feel good in a time where I couldn't find many things that made me feel good. But that enjoyment, and of course, being a young girl going through that experience, I unfortunately also found myself in a position where I became really unwell with an eating disorder called anorexia. This is obviously a big conversation that I'm not going to go too deep into today. This being the first episode and really our first time of connection on this topic, I'm not someone who wants to act like I'm an expert on eating disorders either. So if you are navigating symptoms or know someone who is, please speak to an expert who is qualified to speak about that and to support you or your friend or family member through that. But I did find myself going through that as well, and did end up having to go to hospital a couple of times, and of course, then navigating the recovery. But the reason why I bring this into the conversation today is because I'm often asked why I do what I do. And it's very easy for me to say, because I love health, because I love sport, because I love feeling like the best version of myself. But there's also, when we ask ourselves why we do something, it's always a great opportunity to get a bit deeper on why. Why do we want to lose weight? Why do we want to build muscle? It's not just to look great in the bikini or to fit into the pair of jeans. It's because deep down, there's a part of you that feels like it's suffering, or a part of you that feels like it's stuck, or wants to feel different, wants to feel better, wants to know a new experience in life that is more encouraging and uplifting. Because at the end of the day, all humans, we just want to feel good. So going through that eating disorder and then coming through the other side of that, I was thoroughly determined to recover, really stuck my mind to that and eventually did get to the other side of it. And so every time that I take on a new customer, although the purpose of me coaching this woman is to help her feel better and is to help her become her best version, I also know that deep down, a big part of my purpose is because I want to be part of the change that helps women to never find themselves in that position where they are suffering to that level. And so that's a massive reason why health and fitness is something that I continue to coach, continue to pursue, and continue to evolve with and through. And it's a big reason as to why I think it's important that I can connect those dots for you. And so the reason why I got into health and fitness is, I guess, stemmed from my childhood. It's also kind of has transformed over the years, surviving and healing from an eating disorder. And now with this purpose that I walk through life with, to, of course, encourage, but knowing the scope of my practice, as I said, I am not someone who's here to coach women with eating disorders or to act like I have the solution for them, but rather I see my job as perhaps almost that point that can come into a woman's life where she might be struggling with her weight or her health or her self-talk or her beliefs or just generally not feeling stuck in diet culture, and kind of being able to be that fork in the road where I can help her start to look after herself and start to reclaim her well-being. And so now that I've connected the dots with my why, I want to take a moment to support you in connecting your dots in your own journey. So when customers come to me and ask me to help them with their goals, whether it is a weight loss goal, whether it is a goal to run a marathon, which really excites me, by the way, or whether it's a goal to get in shape for summer, I ask this customer, why do you want to work on this goal? Why is this important to you? And very often those initial responses are because I don't like the way I look in my jeans, or I don't like the way I feel in my dress, or I'd like to see more tone in my arms. But then when we ask the next question, which is, okay, and why do you want to feel more tone in your arms? Or why is it important to you to feel good in that summer dress? We can start to unlock doors towards the deeper why. And that is the why that we need to tap into, that's going to be able to get you out of bed on the cold mornings or be able to push you through the workout that you might not want to do, but you know is right for you to follow through with. And this is completely unique to each woman. But I would say that there is a few different pockets of category we could put these into, which might be because I don't know how to feel good, or that I suffered through bullying when I was a young girl and I've never been able to feel good since that. Little things like this that have happened to us in our younger years, similar to my own journey, where we want to continue to feel like we can evolve from those deep-seated experiences that can actually bring us out of bad habits, negative attitudes, and help us to truly claim our health and fitness in a way that will be more long lasting. So when it comes to Instagram at the moment, one thing that I'm talking about quite a lot on my stories is emotion. A lot of clients that I work with have struggled with emotional eating, or when they get overwhelmed, they skip their workouts. When they feel tired, instead of going for a walk, they sit on the couch. And this is just natural human experience. This isn't to say that there's something wrong with you. This isn't to say that, by being lazy, you are a bad person. This is just to say that your current understanding of what to do in those moments of doubt or fatigue aren't exactly aligned towards your purpose. So having clarity about your why and the deeper purpose of what this goal is going to help you to feel that's different from your current situation is where we want to put our focus and attention, especially at the beginning of the journey. With some customers that I work with, I notice that we don't really get into that why until later. And that can be because they're not feeling comfortable at the start to open up or even ask themselves those questions. And so if you currently are in that position where you feel a disconnect with your purpose or why behind your goal, that's okay. I would encourage you just to focus on the superficial reason at the moment, but to not deny the opportunity with your coach or with yourself in quieter moments to explore that so that you can eventually, and if you are repetitious and you continue to ask why, you will get to that deeper reason. So health and fitness is something that I have used to heal. It is something that I have used to grow as a human, emotionally, physically, spiritually. It is something that has helped me connect with myself and with others. And all back to the theme of everything that I do, it has helped me to evolve. It has helped me to evolve from someone who felt lost and stuck into someone who felt in control, but actually had no control. And then it's helped me to evolve into the woman I am today, which is not a perfect human, but I'm definitely someone who is always willing to learn and to continue to grow and evolve from those lessons. In this conversation today, I wondered if I should talk you through the timeline of my career, talk you through the timeline of the journey, but I don't think that those things are as important as the deeper reasoning behind why I do what I do. Everyone who's listening to this podcast today has navigated grief at some point, and every woman who is listening to this podcast today has navigated some type of negative experience with her body image or with her health. And I think that that's just a truth that we can all connect with. And so by you being able to understand the reason why I do what I do is not just to have a business. It's not just to, be able to build programs and write nutrition plans and do the things that my qualifications allow me to do, but it comes from a very deep place of this is an experience that I was put through or that I was given, and this is how I've grown from it. And now I can only hope that that will inspire a woman who needs it at that time. The topic of the reason why you work on your goals is actually the entry point to the how. Constantly, women are saying to me, and you'd be quite surprised how many times I hear this, Sally, I know what to do, but I don't know how to do it. I know exactly what to do, but I just can't do it. And then, of course, that's the entry point for coaching, where the coach or myself can actually bring together a plan, the process, the steps. And a lot of my job is keeping women accountable to the promises that they make for themselves. So, asking yourself why your goal is important on a very deep level will then help you to recognize the steps that you need to take. For example, in my own journey, knowing that the reason why I want to achieve, let's say, personal best on my next run is because I love the way that that makes me feel. It does connect me to myself, and it does connect me to my sister in a meaningful way, I guess a personal way. But it also helps me to feel like I'm tapping into those deeper whys. It's helping me to connect with myself and others. It's helping me to push myself and to learn more about myself. And that process of chasing that personal best is actually helping me to become that better version of myself. It's giving me opportunities to show up and to follow through with the nutrition plan, with the training plan, with my consistent sleep schedule that's always just, one late night of scrolling away from being destroyed. Let's all face it. And so coming back to that purpose while pursuing that goal is that entry point for the steps to unfold. So if you are listening to this and you are currently feeling stuck in knowing how to bring your goals together, just ask yourself why, but be persistent. Ask yourself why again and again and again and again, not only looking for the superficial reasons, but looking for the deeper internal drives or internal motivators that you might be hiding from yourself and not want to look at. But it's actually being able to connect the emotional points of your purpose or your goal and the things that you want to move away from and the emotions that you want to move towards, such as we want to move away from overwhelm or we want to move away from fear or discomfort. And we want to move towards confidence and clarity and just that feeling of total, complete ownership and control over our goals and our outcomes. So talking about emotion, being able to tap into the emotional good and bad emotions, and actually then using those emotions to push you towards the goal or to pull, I think push is the wrong word, but rather pull you towards the goal. Because if your reason why is powerful enough, you will be pulled towards the goal and you won't need to go through an uphill battle. It won't feel like a grind. It will actually feel like a process that you want to be part of. Understanding your emotions, as I said earlier, a lot of women that I talk with are struggling with the emotional eating. They are feeling triggered. They are feeling overwhelmed. And then instantly they're looking for food or they're looking for an excuse to not go to the gym or a reason to skip their evening walk. When you're able to actually take a second to pause and notice that the emotion is there, and then being able to look at that emotion for what it is, and then ask yourself, how can I use this emotion for better use? How can I channel this emotion towards my goal? How can I channel this emotion away from the self-sabotage habits and channel this emotion towards becoming that version of myself that I want to become, or channel this emotion towards a better habit? So instead of in that moment going for the lazy option, using that channel of emotion, channeling and using that emotion towards putting on your shoes, getting out the door, or making yourself a meal that represents your health and your well-being. Just by understanding that every single one of us are going to experience strong emotions, but then being able to channel that emotion in towards something positive for yourself is going to be a choice that you can make moment to moment, and it's going to pull you in the direction of your goals versus taking you backwards and constantly feeling like you're self-sabotaging and not being able to find momentum. So I hope that that is helpful for you. I know that every single woman listening has probably had to navigate those difficult moments where you just feel like you take 2 steps forward and then 1 step backwards, and just not feeling like you can get out of that habit loop, when really it's just about becoming self-aware that staying in that loop is a choice, but also stepping out of that loop is a choice that you can make. And when you can come back to the real purpose behind your goals, that's when taking those difficult moments and making better decisions becomes easier. Because I promise you, it's not easy for anyone in the beginning when trying to change patterns, but it becomes easier with repetition. And repetition is the skill that you can use. It is the thing that you can put in place that will help you to build the skills, such as making better choices and channeling your emotions towards better outcomes. Well, I think that's everything that I wanted to connect with you today on. I think being able to share with you more about the connection point with my own journey as a coach, also as a human, because behind the scenes, health and fitness is a very big part of my life. It's probably most of my life, if I'm completely honest with you. But my goal for 2026 is definitely to try to find some different things that I can do that lead me down different journeys. I've been learning Spanish, for example, which is something that's completely different. So there's always opportunities to evolve and to grow, even for someone who's a health and fitness coach and kind of builds their life from that. But I really hope that this has helped you as well to understand why the why is so important. If you've been working with a coach, or if you're navigating this journey on your own, if you do any type of Googling, ask any chat GPT, I'm sure that one of the very first things that's going to pop up is tapping into your why. Is something that needs to be talked about more. I think that people need to just understand why it's important and how to actually access your why. And it really does just come down again to that consistency and repetition of not being afraid to delve into that area of your journey and your mind. And overall, talking about emotions, obviously something that is really important for coaches to talk about with customers. If you are struggling with emotional eating, we don't want to pretend like, oh, it's just discipline. You just need to try harder. That's not the way to overcome emotional eating. You actually have to come back to the root of the problem and understand how to kind of dig up that weed, so to speak, and plant a better seed there. So what you can expect from this podcast now is I'm going to be continuing with fortnightly episodes here in the Geelong Photo Studio, recording episodes for you so that you can continue to go on this journey with me as I fumble my way through a podcast until I get good at them, and we'll go on that journey together. So if you want to learn more about my coaching, you can find me on Instagram, SallyWarren_1. You can find me on my website, let'sevolveco.com.au. I run a coaching app. It's called Let's Evolve. I help women who are busy, who feel like they don't know how to get to their goals, and I make really simple and effective plans that help them be successful. And well, you know why I do that, but another reason is I just love to do what I do and would love to be able to support you in any way I can. So I wish you a great day, Be kind to yourself and be kind to others. And yeah, stay healthy.